We have a great feel for this young man. He's a very, very hard worker. He has fun when he's in the building. I'm enjoying watching him progress with every single meeting, with every single rep. He's doing a great job. And I think as a young player, I don't care what position you're playing, you're going to run a play or you're going to get something wrong. That's so valuable because then you get to correct it, get it right the next time. And he's doing a really, really nice job. I think he's showing up early, he's staying late, and he continues to get better every single day. And that's the fun part. But just having him in the meeting room brings a great personality in there. It's fun to have. I sit right behind him. Joe is to my left, to Shedeur's left, and to see those two bounce ideas off of each other is hilarious. Joe will say a few things, and I'll be like, Joe, Shedeur wasn't born. He wasn't born then. So it's just he's got great energy, great kid, working his tail off, and he's playing really well too.
The wait is finally over. Kevin Stefanski has made it official. Shedeur Sanders is the Cleveland Browns franchise quarterback. That's right, folks. It's a done deal. But getting to this moment, it's been anything but smooth. What looked like a simple decision turned into a wild ride, filled with behind-the-scenes drama, front office tension, and high-stakes power plays. The twists in this story are going to blow your mind. Why wouldn't you, just to see if it does anything to the offense, give him an opportunity to go in there and play?
Why wouldn't you, just to see if it does anything to the offense, give him an opportunity to go in there and play?
Yeah, obviously my focus is where we are right now, Mary Kay. That's not my focus.
For months, Kevin Stefanski kept his cards close to the chest. The Browns head coach seemed hesitant to publicly back Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback who'd take this franchise forward. But after watching Shedeur's explosive performance this season, Stefanski couldn't ignore what was right in front of him. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just ready, he was built for this. Now, after enduring weeks of mounting pressure from inside the organization and relentless scrutiny from the outside, Stefanski has finally caved. He's officially named Shedeur the face of the franchise. But before we dive into what comes next, let's unpack the full story of how we arrived at this moment. In his recent statement, Stefanski welcomed Shedeur Sanders as the Browns' new starting quarterback, and he didn't hold back when discussing what Shedeur brings to the table. Stefanski admitted it wouldn't be an easy transition for Shedeur to slot into the Browns' offense, especially since the system had been built around a completely different philosophy and leadership style. But Stefanski didn't dodge the reality. He owned up to the fact that adjustments would be necessary. He recognized that Shedeur's skill set was extraordinary and that the offense would have to evolve to maximize his talents.
All of our guys, we trust our guys to perform. He's no different, and playing a backup quarterback role, as we've talked about over the years, that's tough to come in there, but we trust him. I know there's things that he's going to want to do better, but that's why we work.
What really stood out, though, was Stefanski's praise for Shedeur's command of the game. In his announcement, Stefanski highlighted how Shedeur has the rare ability to shift the tempo mid-game whenever the situation demands it. He specifically called out a pinpoint throw Shedeur delivered to Harold Fannin, a play that perfectly showcased Shedeur's composure and accuracy under pressure. Stefanski didn't just see Shedeur as a talented quarterback, he saw him as a game changer, a playmaker capable of controlling the pace and dictating how each contest unfolds. This was a turning point in Stefanski's acceptance of Shedeur as his starting signal caller. It wasn't merely about raw talent, it was about Shedeur's football intelligence and his ability to adapt on the fly. But it wasn't always this way. Early in the season, Stefanski was far from sold on Shedeur Sanders. In fact, he made it abundantly clear that he wasn't ready to hand the keys to the offense to a rookie, especially one with zero NFL experience. Stefanski had his own blueprint for the team, and Shedeur didn't fit that vision, at least not initially. Stefanski had a clear plan for how the Browns would operate, and Shedeur's unconventional style clashed with that approach, or so it seemed at the time. But as the season unfolded, something shifted. Shedeur Sanders started making an undeniable impact on the field. Game after game, he delivered flashes of brilliance, making throws that left fans and analysts speechless. He wasn't just the future, he was the present. His arm talent, poise under pressure, and natural leadership became impossible to overlook. Week in and week out, Shedeur proved he was more than capable of leading this team to victories, and it became crystal clear that Stefanski had been wrong to doubt him. As Shedeur's reputation soared, Stefanski felt the heat from the top of the organization. Browns owner Jim Haslam was among the first to recognize Shedeur's exceptional play. Haslam saw something in Shedeur that Stefanski had initially overlooked, and he wasn't about to let his head coach drag his feet. Haslam began pushing hard for Stefanski to install Shedeur as the starting quarterback, and that pressure quickly reached a boiling point. While Stefanski harbored reservations about starting a rookie under center, Haslam made his stance crystal clear. Shedeur was the future, and if Stefanski couldn't see that, he'd be left in the dust. With the pressure intensifying, Stefanski had no choice but to yield to Haslam's demands. This wasn't just about winning football games anymore. It was about keeping his job. Haslam kept pressing Stefanski to give Shedeur the starting role, and when Stefanski finally gave in and inserted Shedeur into the lineup, Haslam was quick to congratulate him. But there was more happening beneath the surface than a straightforward coaching move. Behind the scenes, Haslam knew that Stefanski had been actively trying to sabotage Shedeur's ascent. This had transcended football. It was personal. Stefanski's reluctance to start Shedeur had created serious friction within the organization. Haslam understood that Stefanski had been attempting to hold back the inevitable, and when Haslam personally visited Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur's father, to congratulate him on his son's achievements, it sent a clear message. Haslam wasn't just celebrating Shedeur's on-field performance, he was making a statement. He was showing that he'd backed the right player from the start, and Stefanski had better fall in line. But here's where the plot thickens. While Haslam was congratulating Shedeur Sanders, he was simultaneously questioning Stefanski's future with the Browns. The rumors circulating within the organization were getting louder, and it was an open secret that Stefanski's job was hanging by a thread. If Shedeur Sanders kept thriving while Stefanski continued to resist, there was a legitimate chance that Haslam would start shopping for a new head coach. And as Stefanski's job security crumbled, so did his standing with the players and the fans. They could sense that Stefanski wasn't fully committed to Shedeur, and they weren't pleased about it. In fact, multiple reports indicated that Stefanski's hesitation to embrace Shedeur was a major factor in why his job was in jeopardy. The Browns had finally discovered a quarterback with the potential to lead them into a new era, and Stefanski appeared determined to stand in the way. This was no longer just about X's and O's, it was about control. Stefanski faced a critical choice: either embrace Shedeur as the franchise's future or risk losing everything. And as Shedeur continued delivering clutch plays, it became obvious that the power had shifted into his hands. But Shedeur wasn't just protecting Stefanski's job with his stellar play. There was another crucial figure in this saga: Andrew Berry. Berry, the Browns' general manager, had been a quiet yet vital advocate for Shedeur from day one. While Stefanski hesitated to put Shedeur in the starting lineup, Berry was working tirelessly to construct a team around the young quarterback. He recognized Shedeur's potential and understood that with the proper support system, Shedeur could elevate the entire franchise. Berry's front office maneuvers were designed to set Shedeur up for success. From bolstering the offensive line with key acquisitions to bringing in weapons for Shedeur to utilize, Berry was operating behind the scenes to give the young QB every advantage. In doing so, Berry was also indirectly applying pressure on Stefanski to commit to the Shedeur project. As Shedeur's performances continued grabbing headlines, the Browns' front office realized they couldn't afford to wait any longer. If they were going to make a playoff push and compete beyond, they needed to fully commit to Shedeur Sanders as their starting quarterback. But that wasn't the only shift taking place. Stefanski was no longer the undisputed leader of this team. With Shedeur on the rise, it was evident that the power dynamics in Cleveland were changing, and if Stefanski's job wasn't already in jeopardy before, it certainly was now. Haslam, always the shrewd businessman, was reportedly exploring potential replacements for Stefanski if the situation didn't improve quickly. As much as Stefanski hoped he could weather the storm, the reality was that Shedeur Sanders had already changed everything. If Haslam decided to fire Stefanski, there was one glaring reason: Shedeur had been sabotaged. Haslam saw the writing on the wall. He knew Stefanski had been attempting to suppress Shedeur's rise, and he wasn't going to tolerate it. While Stefanski may have believed he could control the situation, the truth was that Shedeur held all the cards. Now, as the Browns' franchise quarterback, Shedeur's success has become directly tied to Stefanski's future. If Shedeur continues thriving, Stefanski's job might be secure, but if things go south, Stefanski will be shown the door. In the end, the decision to name Shedeur Sanders the Browns' franchise quarterback transcended football. It was about power, control, and the direction of the franchise. Stefanski had no option but to acknowledge Shedeur's rise and apologize for attempting to sabotage him. But now the critical question remains: can Stefanski redeem himself and save his job, or will Shedeur's success ultimately seal his fate? As Shedeur Sanders leads the Cleveland Browns into a new chapter, one thing is certain: the future of this franchise rests in his hands. And regardless of what happens to Kevin Stefanski, Shedeur is now the face of this team. Whether Stefanski stays or goes, Shedeur Sanders has cemented his place as the franchise quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And with that, the question lingers: will Shedeur's meteoric rise save Stefanski's job, or will it mark the end of the line for the coach? Only time will tell.